السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue inshallah ta'ala with the book of Usul As-Sunnah by Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. And if you have the book with you, definitely this is good, it helps. I read the Arabic and then we try to explain it inshallah ta'ala briefly. And we stopped at the sentence where he talks about the relationship between the people and their leaders, those of authority. ولاة الأمور. So we stopped at what he said: والغزو ماض مع الأمراء إلى يوم القيامة البر والفاجر لا يترك. الغزو is fighting in war, is ماضٍ, that means it's continuing, it's continuous till the day of judgment. مع الأمراء, there's no such a thing as it stops at a certain point. This is a continuous thing. But with the umara, with the leaders, not individual, not on each group on their own, but rather with the leaders, the people of authority. إلى يوم القيامة, till the day of al-qiyamah. البر والفاجر, meaning the leader, whether he is bar, righteous, or wal-fajr is the wicked one, the wrongdoer, the oppressor, it doesn't matter, as long as he's a Muslim. لا يترك, it is not to be left, it's not to be denied, because the people of innovations, they would differentiate between the leaders if they're righteous versus the leaders if they are evil. So this is according to the belief of the people of As-Sunnah. It doesn't matter when it comes to the personal doing of the person of authority, as long as everything else is valid in the religion. So not to overthrow them, not to go against them. But here this is also with regards to being under the rule in fighting and so on. Then he mentioned after that وَقِسْمَةُ الْفَيْءِ. وَقِسْمَةُ الْفَيْءِ, the distribution of al-fay. Al-fay is what the booty of the war and the like of that. And this is, rulings of it is very well described in the books of fiqh. And as we know that the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it covers everything. It's comprehensive. So some of the things, those who are addressed by certain things are the rulers. And other things, which is the majority of matters of the deen, the masses of the Muslims are addressed, every single individual are addressed to establish the salah and so on. But for the rulers, there are certain things that are addressed with, and the same thing with different types of positions or occupations that people would have in their life. There will be also rules that applies accordingly. And always the mention of the people of authority in the books of Aqidah is because, again, as we know, some deviant sects early on, they started this subject of al-khuruj, or going against the rulers. And this was not the way of the companions radiallahu anhum. Or on the other hand, those who, like the murji'ah, those who would approve everything and approve sins and approve evil deeds and things like this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided the ulama to write these types of book and include in it these things that splitted the ummah or people of deviation and so on. So he's saying that qismatul fay', the distribution of the booty of the war, this belongs to the authority, the people of authority, not to individuals to do that. وَإِقَامَةُ الْحُدُودِ إِلَى الْأَئِمَّةِ مَاضٍ, and also those who establish the hudud, the capital punishments, and who is the one to punish the thief and the killer and so on. It's not to the individuals, it's only to the people of authority, the rulers. So these types of things are only to the rulers to apply it. And if they do not apply it, then it's not for the people, the common people, the individuals to observe these types of punishments. So he says, Maldin, that means it's going to continue till the day of judgment. There's no exception to this. لَيْسَ لِأَحَدٍ أَنْ يَطْعَنَ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا يُنَازِعُهُم. It is not befitting for anyone to يطعن عليهم, to attack them in this matter. وَلَا يُنَازِعُهُم, or he does not dispute with them to try to take that away from them. right? وَأَلَّا نُنَازِعَ الْأَمْرَ أَهْلَهُ, as the Prophet ﷺ, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum took from him this pledge that we do not nunaza'. And munaza'a is when you have a dispute, not just a dispute, when you're trying to take something from someone. Two people have a dispute with regard to a piece of land. That means each one claimed to be his. So each one wants to have it for himself. So this is al munaza'a. So the companions radiallahu anhum, they said that the Prophet ﷺ took from them the covenant, the pledge, أَلَّا نُنَازِعَ الْأَمْرَ أَهْلَهُ, that we do not take the matter from its people. Those who are in charge, we don't take that thing from them. We advise them in the proper way and think if we enjoin good, forbid evil, and so on. So this is what he says. And then he says, وَدَفْعُ الصَّدَقَاتِ إِلَيْهِمْ جَائِزَةً, and to give the sadaqah, to give the charity to them, meaning to the rulers, jaiza, this is permissible, and referring to that the zakah, because the zakah is one of the duties of the ruler, that he collects it from the people and then he distributes it to those who are entitled for the zakah. So he says, when someone, the deviant ones, they said if the rulers are corrupted, then we're not going to give them our zakah because they might not use it in the proper way. If they are collecting the zakah, not taxes, we're talking about zakah here, then it's permissible to give it to them. من دفعها إليهم أجزأت عنه برا كان أو فاجرا. Whoever gives it, meaning the charity, the zakat to them, أجزأت عنه, would suffice for him. برا كان أو فاجرا, whether the ruler was righteous or فاجرا, that means wicked and evil and so on. So this is with, again, the rulers, they have these types of means of authorities that are to be obeyed in it and not to be opposed, as long as it's not against the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he says, وَصَلَاةُ الْجُمُعَةِ خَلْفَهُ, وَصَلَاةُ الْجُمُعَةِ, to pray صلاة الجمعة خلفه, behind the ruler. وَخَلْفَ مَنْ وَلَّاهُ, and also to pray behind those who the ruler would appoint. So if the ruler, he leads the salah, no one is to say, I'm not going to pray behind him because he's this and this, right? This is not the way of the people of As-Sunnah. وَخَلْفَ مَنْ وَلَّاهُ, and also to pray behind those who the ruler appoints. So he appoints, for example, people like we have, for example, in the Muslim world, there's Wazaratul Awqaf, or the Minister of Awqaf, where it appoints the imams and so on in the masajid. If they lead the people, you pray behind them. You don't say this person is this or that. So, and again, this is why this is mentioned here, because the people of deviation of bid'ah, when they would choose who to pray behind and who not to pray behind, based on their desires. He says, وَخَلْفَ مَنْ وَلَّاهُ جَائِزَةً, it's permissible to pray behind them. بَاقِيَةٌ تَامَّةٌ, that means to be prayed, and this is going to continue. This is the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's tamma, that means it's to be prayed completely, fully. رَكْعَتَيْن مَنْ أَعَادَهُمَا فَهُ مُبْتَدِعٌ. تَامَّةٌ رَكْعَتَيْن, meaning Salatul Jumu'ah is rak'atayn, and to be prayed, and this is tamma. And man a'adahuma, whoever repeats them after he prays behind the imam, فَهُ مُبْتَدِعٌ, he's a person of bid'ah. تَارِكٌ لِلْآثَارِ, he basically abandoned al-athar, the text from the Prophet ﷺ, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. And al-athar can be mentioned in general to mean the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and what's also authentically proven to be from the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, or in many cases it refers to the statements of the Sahaba. So whoever does this, whoever does not pray the Jumu'ah behind the ruler or behind what the ruler appoints, he is mubtada', and he is leaving the athar. مخالف للسنة, he is opposing the sunnah, against the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. ليس له من فضل الجمعة شيء إذا لم يرى الصلاة خلف الأئمة برهم وفاجرهم. He has no virtues, no rewards for him whatsoever, whoever believes that way from the Jumu'ah, if he does not see the permissibility of praying behind the A'imma, the righteous among them and the wicked and the evil among them. So this is very clear here. فَالسُّنَّةُ بِأَنْ يُصَلِّي مَعْهُمْ رَكَعَتَيْنِ وَيَدِينُ بِأَنَّهَا تَامَّةٌ. See how stressing the meaning here. The sunnah is that he prays with them the 2 rak'ah of Jumu'ah, and he would yadeen, that means he would believe that this is the deen of Allah, that it's complete salah. He does not have to make it up again because people, when they say, they would pray it behind them, but then they would repeat salah again or so, because, or they make it dhuhr or something like this out of the belief that this ruler is a evil man or a wrongdoer or whatever. This is all against the way of the people of Ahl-Sunnah. So if they lead the people in Salatul Jum'ah, to pray behind them, and it's a full, complete salah, and not to repeat anything like this. And he says, لا يكن في صدرك من ذلك شك. Do not have in your heart any doubt in this whatsoever. And why this is very stressed again, as we said, and why would there be any doubt in one's heart? When people, if a person exalt the Sharia, exalt the Deen, and the Deen is the most important thing. So these types of things can affect one's desire, or religious desire, if it's correct to say. But we submit ourselves to the nusus, to the text from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran and in the Sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So basically, don't act on what you feel, but rather act according to the wahi revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then after that he says, وَمَنْ خَرَجَ عَلَى إِمَامٍ مِنْ أُمَّةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَقَدْ كَانَ النَّاسُ اجْتَمَعُوا عَلَيْهِ. Whoever خرج على, again, like the khuruj, and come out upon, which basically revolt against, because the Muslimin are one jama'ah, they're all together under the rules. So whoever comes out of this to oppose the Imam, to fight him, to take his leadership from him, and so on, from Ummat al-Muslimin, وَقَدْ كَانَ النَّاسُ اجْتَمَعُوا عَلَيْهِ, and people had already agreed upon him. That means they are, not necessarily every person agrees, but he becomes the one that is the Khalifa, or the ruler, or the president, or the king, or whatever. وَأَقَرُّوا لَهُ بِالْخِلَافَةِ, and they acknowledge that he is the Khalifa بِأَيِّ وَجْهٍ كَانَ, whether in whatever way there is, whether they chose him or they didn't choose him. So he becomes the one established. كَانَ بِالرِّضَى أَوْ بِالْغَلَبَةِ, whether they were pleased by him being the ruler, or بالغلبة, or he oppressed them, he defeated them. So it doesn't matter, because people say we didn't choose him, or things like this. It doesn't have to be like this. If someone becomes in charge by force, and everything is under his rule and under his power, then people would not revolt against them, and so on. And again, to be patient with the deen of Allah, not to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whoever goes against them and revolt against them, فَقَدْ شَقَّ هَذَا الْخَارِجُ عَصَى الْمُسْلِمِينَ, he had basically split the Muslim ummah, and basically the authority of the Muslim ummah. And this is a huge fitna, when you have authority, and you have the authority is enforcing law and order in a town or in a country, and someone would break this to create more than one authority. This all kinds of fitan and wars and bloodshed, and we see that even in our lifetime in many places. And see how the ulama rahimahumullah, they mention this. If people are under a ruler, then they should be patient, and when it comes to what is disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they enjoin good, forbid evil. They do not obey in matters of evil, but they do not go against them. They don't fight against them. They don't mention even their name in a negative way in the public, but rather they would enjoin good and forbid evil. And whoever does this, وَخَالَفَ الْأَثَارِ, he would be then not upon the athar and the text عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, from the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم. فإن مات الخارج عليه مات ميتة جاهلية. And if he dies, the one that goes against the Muslim ummah and fight against them, he had indeed died a jahiliyyah death. And this is again with evidences in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The last statement, he says, وَلَا يَحِلُّ قِتَالُ السُّلْطَانِ, it is not permissible to fight the sultan, the person of authority, ruler. وَلَا الْخُرُوجُ عَلَيْهِ لِأَحَدٍ مِّنَ النَّاسِ, and no permissibility to fight against him. And it's not permissible to, al-khuruj is more general than fighting. Al-khuruj is to be defiant against him. That means a person does not accept his rule, and he would not accept that, whether it's with speech or actions, and that's not permissible. فَمَنْ فَعَلَ ذَلِكَ فَهُوَ مُبْتَدِعٌ عَلَى غَيْرِ السُّنَّةِ وَالطَّرِيقِ, whoever does this, he is mubtadi', he is a person of bid'ah, عَلَى غَيْرِ السُّنَّةِ وَالطَّرِيقِ, he is not upon the sunnah and at-tariq, he is not upon the sunnah and the way of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And again, تُؤَدُّونَ الْحَقَّ الَّذِي عَلَيْكُمْ وَتَسْأَلُونَ اللَّهَ الَّذِي لَكُمْ, as the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, you fulfill the rights that is upon you, and you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what's for you if they deprive you from your rights. and without, of course, disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, على المرء السمع والطاعة, that people need to listen and to obey فيما أحب أو كره, whether he likes it or he hates it. إلا أن يؤمر بمعصية فلا سمع ولا طاعة. Unless he is commanded to do a sin, then there's no listening and there's no obedience when it comes to that particular sin. So, and this is the nusus, the hadith and the statements are so many in this, and talked about some of it before. So this is the deen of Allah, and this is the way to deal with it, and to acknowledge the authority that the people of, or the rulers, they have. And al-khuruj, again, as we said, in actions and in speech. طيب, we'll stop here inshallah because of the next class in a few minutes. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وصحبه وسلم. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.